and how you handled it. We really heard that that turning point and that seminal moment, I think, came. It sounds like it came when, when you figured out. It wasn't really the first moment when they announced everything. It was kind of, It's almost like kind of you hear the news announcement, and then you go back and you actually dig deeper into it and go, yeah, I best start changing like quick.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so you got this announcement, and I'm quite sure a lot of our viewers are going through this where they've heard something changing at their company or they heard something is going to happen. For you, when you heard this change was coming, do you remember the first thing you went and did after you heard about heard about the change initially?
Yeah, I grabbed my calculator and I saw what was going to happen to my pay and felt like I was on the Titanic and I wasn't going to sit around and listen to the guy playing the violin. I was going to try to find a life raft. And, everyone has choices to make, but I just knew that for me personally in my situation, I had to make the move. So the first thing literally that I did was grab my calculator, get my head wrapped around this new compensation plan, and in fairness, most corporations aren't going to make a change to a compensation plan for sales and marketing to give them more money and the company less. They may be spun that way, but that's not what happens. But what I did was afterwards, I'm lucky. I have a very supportive girlfriend, and she's behind me 100%. And talked to her that evening. It was pretty quick when I made the final decision, and it was the next day. I had a great boss there. He was A1, and sat down, talked to him, but I knew I was done, and passed my notice in. But I guess I should say it took probably 3 or 4 days because I talked to my brother and kind of got my head wrapped around podcasting as well. So that's kind of, I guess, kind of how it happened.
So I think there's a lot of gold in there. So first, forget about the situation, folks. First, Matt went out and figured out how a change was going to affect him. I mean, so many times, and Matt, you hear a lot of personal growth and development coaches, a lot of coaches that you're doing shows for and editing shows for. I'm quite sure that a lot of them have the stories of their clients who sit around and either fail because of analysis paralysis, or fail because they stick their head in the sand, or fail because of 100 other different reasons, and not taking action is probably the big thing. So the first thing you did was you took action. You said, how is this change going to affect me? Because let's face it, it may have affected you seriously, which it did, but other changes for other people might not affect them so seriously. So then, when you found out it was going to affect you seriously, I love what you did next. You had conversations with people close to you. Let's touch on that real quick because I know you have a supportive brother, and I know you talked about your girlfriend being very supportive. Tell us a little bit more. Like when you approach them, how did you approach the conversation, and did they give you advice, or kind of what happened there?
Well, my brother, he's a serial entrepreneur. He's the definition of entrepreneur, but it's very motivating to get to see that. And we're twins, so we shared a womb. I don't know if that rubbed off on me early on. So, him, he's gonna 99, well, 100 times out of 100, he'll tell you to go for it and go for your dreams. And then on the flip side, my girlfriend was kind of going through a similar change where she was in a working for someone else, but also planning to open up her own business, which just actually opened this week. So I'm kind of lucky that way, where the two people that are the closest to me are both entrepreneurs who understand what it takes to be a successful entrepreneur. My girlfriend doesn't mind if I'm on my laptop, till 11, 12 o'clock at night because I'm, need to get something in for the next day. It's really takes a special breed of people, as you know, for entrepreneurs, and it's not for everyone. I guess going back to I should have mentioned back to my coworkers, and the reason a lot of them are still there too is because I'm in a different situation. I don't have children and things like that. So, there's still benefits that they would have to, that obviously could, be help them out in their situation. And so for me, a choice really affects me, but everyone's got to look at their own personal situation and whether it be, staying in a job that you're in or trying on your own. I guess it's not a decision to take lightly, but at the same time, I think you're right. You have to, if it's the time to jump, and you'll figure things out on the way down. So.
Yeah, well, and the other key is that you had support. You had support around you, and the decision you made was the best for yourself and for your current situation. Then the third thing, after finding you had that support, I did find interesting. You said you didn't go in and quit right away, or I said you didn't go in and give your notice right away, but you started doing some research. So for you, it was on podcasting, but in general, it sounds like another good step is to, even though you trust that things are going to work out okay, it's like verify and start to do a little bit of research to make sure that what you think might work at least has a chance. I mean, is that what you did, or did you dig deeper into
Yeah.
your research, or?
No, I'll be completely honest with you. My first thought was I was in outside sales, territory management. My first thought was to look into sell a product for a different company and see. But looking at the job market, I felt for me that it wasn't quite what it would have been even say 8, 9 years ago. So for me, I looked and I said it was almost that was everything was pushing me towards doing this. Like if there was a ton of high-paying jobs locally, that I think it would be tempting. And I've been contacted since I've been started up the company about some interviews and some people through different like LinkedIn, and I just had to say no. I'm in this. Started something up, and I'm in this for the long haul. So I think it wasn't that I just said, okay, I'm going to quit and I believe in podcasting. There's a little bit of doing research for a couple days and then saying, well, I don't feel the job market's where it's at, and I think I want to get on something that's trending upwards, and I'm going to, the world's changing, you hear it, the industrial age, and now you've probably seen so many changes the last, really since social media, online businesses. There's a world of opportunity out there, and I think people are selling themselves short if they think they have to do a traditional job and not explore non-traditional things. Of course, my parents and such are old school. They probably think my brother and I are nuts, but it's and it all goes down to what you're putting in your head. If you're listening to podcasts that are motivational and people that are out there doing it, and you're reading about the Gary Vaynerchuks and and you're filling your head with Napoleon Hill, then it's pretty hard not to take a bet on yourself for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I tell you, as our audience knows, I got divorced a couple of years ago, and she says it's a couple of years now. Amazing how time flies. But I know my ex-wife and her family were in the old mode, because it was kind of like, look, eventually got to the point, look, shut the business down and get a real job. And the funny part is, anytime somebody who's not an entrepreneur or who doesn't realize what we do and what we go through says a real job, it's like it kind of makes me twitch and cringe, because I don't know what can be more real than end up working 80, 90 hours a week, or what have you, or working at all hours of the day or night. Just because it's not in an office or just because it's not in a factory doesn't mean it's not challenging.
Great point.
It's interesting because that really leads us now into the aftermath.
To watch the rest of this epic episode now, click on the link below the video. Do it now, you'll be glad you did. Are you still here? What are you waiting for? Watch the rest of this epic episode now by clicking on the link below the video.